I was questioning everything, God, myself, my future, as I walked across campus in the heart of autumn. I was late for a class and cut through a field. My brisk pace was interrupted by the force of the wind, carrying spirals of leaves into the blue sky and embracing my whole being with each step. I was suddenly awake to the sacredness of everything around me. It was like I was seeing what was already there, but with greater depth and clarity. Everything, without exception, was drenched in divine presence and light. It was not something that descended for the moment. I was waking up to what was already there. In the words of the Christian mystic Mechthild of Magdeburg, the day of my spiritual awakening was the day I saw and knew I saw all things in God, and God in all things. Frequently, when I ask people about what nourishes their soul or what spiritual practices are important for their faith, people speak of the earth. It was a cherished campground and nights under starry skies where the presence of God was first truly felt. A climb up a mountain brought renewed perspective, or watching waves at the ocean's edge returned the soul to a deeper rhythm. Gardening, pulling weeds, hiking, walking through the park, sitting on the porch, gazing at a fire, the first signs of spring after a long winter, are universal ways of drawing nearer to the God we seek. While churches and other sacred indoor places occupy the list from time to time, it's clear to me that as humans, as members of creation, when we are yearning for divine presence, the most natural place to go is outside. In a practical sense, no life can occur without the places of our planet. We are inextricably connected to the earth for our breath, bodily existence, and daily sustenance. Sally McFagg reminds us that we could not live a moment without the gifts of the earth, which is God's body. Take a moment right now to revel in wonder at your aliveness. How are you breathing? Where did the food come from that sustained you this day? What about the materials that were used for the building of your home, the weaving of your clothes, the precious metals that power your technology? However separate we appear to live, our inherent connection to the planet is undeniable. Spiritually, we affirm this physical reality in section 90 of the Doctrine and Covenants, proclaiming that spirit and element are inseparably connected. Ellen F. Davis reminds us that being fully human means also understanding our unbreakable bond with the land, the material base of life. One cannot go more than a few chapters in the Old Testament without seeing some vivid reference to land and its importance for humanity. Beginning with the image of Adam, Hebrew for man or humankind, formed from Adamah, soil, in Genesis 2:7. That wordplay suggests a kind of familial connection. It is a subtle yet powerful reminder that the life of a people comes from its land. The more I study the stories of our biblical ancestors, the more I am convinced that the sacred geographies of divine encounter are much more than background. They are essential places of opening, meeting, transforming that could not have occurred without them. Ponder for a few moments all the sacred landscapes that are referenced throughout the Bible. Our ancestors are hardly ever inside. Jacob lays a stone under his pillow and falls asleep under a starry sky when his dream awakens him to the presence of God, even in this place. Jesus spends 40 days in the wilderness in discernment and resistance so that he could return to his ministry with integrity and clarity of call. The Israelites wander in the wilderness searching for home, and their wandering and longing and seeking is our spiritual foundation. Zacchaeus climbs a tree. Job revels at the unfathomable diversity of creation. And Jesus' ministry happens on fishing boats, atop a mountain, under the trees, kneeling at night in the Garden of Gethsemane. The resurrected Christ appears to his disciples on the lakeshore, inviting them to come and have breakfast, a simple earthly act of remembering what sustains, and sharing it with others. Jose Ortega y Gasset says, "Tell me the landscape in which you live, and I will tell you who you are." We need wild places to be whole. The wilderness is not a resource for us to consume. It is a sacred web of life that we are. Adam, Adama, human from soil, breath of God. When we connect deeply with divine presence under a starry sky or gazing into the swaying branches of a tree, we are also recovering something essential about our own identity and belonging as God's beloved creation. Mary Reynolds Thompson, in Reclaiming the Wild Soul, urges us that the awareness of our oneness with the natural world can no longer be allowed to recede into the background. If we are to ensure a vibrant future, not only for ourselves, but for the entire Earth community, it must become the guiding principle of our life and times. At this precise moment in human history, it is vital that we bridge the false divide between the human and non-human worlds, lest we risk losing the wild beauty that is our deepest nature and greatest hope. Community of Christ's enduring principle, sacredness of creation, reminds us that while nature can be beautiful, it can also be harsh and unrelenting and indifferent. Creation's power to create and destroy reminds us of our vulnerability in this life. And in this increasingly hyper-connected but isolating and polarizing world, we need reminders of our intrinsic vulnerability, humility, humanity, connectedness. Time in nature gives me the gift of forgetting about myself for a while. I glimpse a world much larger than my immediate impulses, agendas, and opinions. Standing at 14,000 feet above the earth, I peer over the mountain's edge and feel weak in the knees, but full in heart. My life is fragile and small and brief in the context of rock formations that are millions of years old. This kind of humility might save us if we let it. The us and them of daily discourse fades into the wonder of our oneness with all that lives. Awe will restore a soul that has grown numb and dull to life. Vast landscapes put into perspective what is most essential. As autumn leaves drift to earth and become soil, I am reminded that my life too will one day end. That I am graced with the gift of aliveness in this place for this time right now. And that no matter what I do or where I go, I always belong. I have tried to expose my young daughter to as much natural beauty as possible. In the desert, at the beach, at the base of a sequoia, picking up rocks as we walk the neighborhood, I have whispered into her ear, "This is all God's beloved creation, and you are part of it." It feels like one of the most important things I know to pass along to the next generation. What if all of our children hear this message from their earliest moments? You already belong. Everyone is sacred. Maybe we would raise a generation of peacemakers who could finally learn to live in harmony with each other and all forms of life. Waking up to our oneness with creation is both a call to action and a call to renewal. The earth needs us to put an end to destructive habits that contribute to climate change, deforestation, pollution, and diminished biodiversity. But we are also deeply in need of wild places that literally sustain us and give us life. I want to offer a few simple practices for renewing our souls and restoring our connection with the earth. The first is praise. If you are looking for examples, turn to the Psalms. Praise is the natural response of the heart when moved by awe, beauty, and connection. When I sit outside and listen to the birds in the evening as the sun sets, I feel an uprising of praise within. It is a movement of awe and wonder. It doesn't need to be verbalized, but a song, a sigh, a breath, or a prayer can be a meaningful expression. Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel says it best. Our goal should be to live life in radical amazement. Get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything is phenomenal. Everything is incredible. Never treat life casually. To be spiritual is to be amazed. The second practice is gratitude, especially if you are feeling overwhelmed. Notice your breath. Quiet everything within for a few moments and remember the gift of your aliveness on this planet, here and now. Sometimes as I walk through the world, I find that my heart is shouting thank you to everything I can see. I rarely say it out loud, but maybe I should. I thank God in this amazing interdependent earth I am part of for all the gifts that sustain my life today. The third practice is belonging. I bring Genesis 2 to mind. I remember that I am not separate, but inseparably connected to all that lives. I am part of God's sacred creation. Offering gratitude for the gift of my life leads here. How might the world change as we all awaken to the reality of our oneness in God, not just with other humans, but also other creatures and plants and trees? And the fourth practice is justice. Caring for the planet is a spiritual practice. Daily, I make choices that impact the health of my body, mind, spirit, and environment. Will I recycle? What kind of food will I eat? Will I buy fair trade? Will I consume more than I need or realize that I already have enough? Each act of justice toward the earth is a movement toward peace, healing, and wholeness. It is a spiritual discipline to live our intrinsic belonging by making daily choices that contribute to the flourishing of all life. Sisters, brothers, fellow members of God's creation, our spirits need wild spaces to be fully alive. It is part of who we are. We are shaped, formed, enlivened, and sustained by our connection with creation. My prayer is that as we awaken to the beauty of the earth and live with intention and awe at the sacredness of all life, our most natural response will be passionate care of the whole planet. Let's be radically amazed at every person we encounter, every leaf we see drifting through the air, every bite of food we put into our bodies, every gift of breath. This world is truly charged with the grandeur of God. Amen.